Hey, you all. So it's holiday season, and I know a bunch of you have some parties coming up. And for those of you who are emotional eaters or who tend to overdo it, overeat, overconsume, overindulge in all the things, I have 5 tips for you that I want you to consider before you go to your next holiday party. The first tip is I want you to eat before you get there. Now, I know the food is going to be there. I know you're excited about the food. You're like, oh, they're going to have this, they're going to have that. But before you get there, you must eat. Now, I'm not saying have a whole full meal, but I am saying have a little food on your stomach, okay? Because what you don't want to do is get there. And because it's around dinner time, when most holiday parties are in the evening, you haven't eaten. So what you end up doing is you go and you overindulge and oversnack on all these different foods. And these are not typically dinner foods. Party foods are generally full of fats, full of sugars, full of salts. They're tasty for sure, but they are not foods that are meant to be a meal. So I want you to go there with a little bit of food in your stomach. Ideally, have something fibrous like a salad or some veggies before you get there. Just enough, but leave some room so you can go there and still enjoy your food. But don't go there on an empty stomach. You will set yourself up for failure. Got it? Got it. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to emotionally center and transition before your party. So oftentimes before you get to these parties, you might be coming from work. You might have had a stressful day. Maybe you're coming from your therapy session. You might be coming from an argument with your partner or whatever. But there might have been some things in your day that are still lingering in your system that you haven't fully processed yet. And then you go straight into the social interactive situation and you have this stuff sitting on your shoulders. So here's what you're going to do. If you have the time before the party, I want you to take some time to journal. You can do this 2 ways. You can do a voice note on your phone, or you can write it out in your journal. Take some time before you get there to make sure you just process the day out so that when you get there, you are fully released and fully focused and ready to mingle. Now, if you don't have a lot of time because work last meeting ended at this time and you only have 30 minutes before the party starts and you got to get there, I get it. But here's what I want you to do when you get there. I want you to say hi, greet the host, maybe say a few friends, hey, hey, hey. And then I want you to excuse yourself to the restroom. Tell them you have to take a call. That way, if you're gone too long, they won't think that you're in there doing number 2 or whatever. So tell them that you got to take a call. I'll be right out. And when you go into that restroom, that is your private downtime to do the journaling, to do the processing of the day, releasing it. And then when you finish, go back out, have a good time, have fun, go eat the things, hello, mindfully, and go say hey to the people and all the things. So that's the second thing I want you to do. Now, the third thing that you need to do is you got to set some boundaries with the guest and with yourself. So before you get there, understand that when you go to parties, people are going to be in your business, right? So it might be friends, it might be colleagues, it might be associates, but people are going to generally ask you questions about your personal life. It could be as simple as like, oh, so how have things been? How are you? Or it could be like, oh, how's the situation? Last time I saw you, you were having da-da-da. How's that been? Considering what you offered and told the person. Now, based on where your life is at the moment, you might be stressed out. You might not be having the best time. So that question can be triggering. So I want you to anticipate that someone is going to ask you about your personal life. And I want you to center yourself in that, for the most part, it's a good intention from the person's part. They're just making small talk or they're generally concerned. Also, know that you have the option to decide what you're going to say, how much you're going to reveal, and whether or not you want to invite them to a one-on-one coffee chat later on where you say, you know what? Yeah, there are some things going on, but now it's not a great time to talk about it. But maybe we catch up next week, have coffee, and we can really dive in and I'll share more. Or it's as simple as, oh, things are going really great. Thanks for asking. How is life for you? Right? So you get to decide what that is, but set the boundaries before and also have the anticipation that people will ask you those questions. I don't want you triggered because what happens now, if you're an emotional eater, someone asks you a question that you're like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. And you get triggered. What happens is you'll go to the snack table and you will find seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths and sixth helpings of whatever it is that you really, really enjoy. And at the end of the day, you'll be like, I shouldn't have ate that, but you were eating emotionally. So set yourself up for success, anticipate the questions, set the boundary, and remember, you're in control of what you share. The fourth thing I want you to remember is that you have permission to say no, and you can take food to go. Now, this permission to say no is on 2 fronts. You have permission to say no to yourself. Because if you are an emotional eater, overeater, sometimes your personal boundaries with yourself, your ability to say no to yourself is a little weak. It's not as strong yet because you haven't strengthened that muscle. So you know you're full, you know you don't need more, but you keep going in because it tastes good. So I want you to give yourself permission to say no. All right. And then also permission to say no to the food pushers. You know, those folks at the party, it's like, oh, this is really, really tasty. You should have some. You're not having any? Why don't you have some? Oh, I made this. Why don't you try it? Oh, please try it. I spent all day making this. Instead of trying to pressure you into eating all these things that personally you may not be interested in, you weren't even thinking about, or even if you were interested in, you had already said to yourself, I'm gonna make sure I eat mindfully and not overeat. And then here comes the food pusher being like, girl, why aren't you eating cake? Eat some cake. So I want you to know that you have permission to say no. Keep that with you. And also, you can have permission to take food to go. So if the food pusher comes up and it's like, you're not going to have any of this, you got to have some of this. It's so good. It's so tasty. Say, you know what? That does sound amazing. I think I'll have some to go. What that does is it settles them. It stops them. Now you said, okay, fine, I'll have some food. So they have nothing else to push. But it also gives you the ability and the responsibility and honoring your body and your commitment to yourself to eat mindful and to not overeat. Permission to say no, take the food to go. And then the fifth thing I want you to do, mind your dinner guests, okay? Mind the guests that you bring to the party, even if you show up by yourself, because you never show up by yourself. You know who's with you? Comparison. I want you to leave comparison at home, and I want you to bring compassion. Because comparison will have you in that party questioning yourself, doubting yourself, looking at others and this and that. And I want you to give yourself compassion. Bring compassion as your guest. That is your +1. You hear me? Compassion is your +1. Bring it as your guest. So when comparison tries to rear its ugly head, because it will, when comparison tries you, you say, oh, no. I got compassion. Compassion will allow you to honor your commitment to your food choices and your mindful eating. Compassion will allow you to be present in that conversation with somebody that comparison would have had you comparing your accomplishments with or your life journey with, whereas compassion is like, oh, I'm just in community with this person. I am where I am. They are what they are, where they are. We're both human and we're having this shared experience of sharing, period. So mind your dinner guests, bring compassion, leave comparison at home. And remember, comparison is really good for comparing prices and nutritional value for the food you're shopping for at the grocery store. But comparison has no business when it comes to you, your journey on your eating plan, on your wellness journey, on your health plan, etc. So y'all have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Enjoy the parties, enjoy the food. It's not about not eating the food, but make sure that you go there with these 5 tips. Mwah. Until next time, y'all, eat well and be well.